SIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Doby, president of North Main Financial Group. At North Main Financial Group,
Studio 4 is the phone number. You're listening to the Scoreboard. We'll spend the next hour talking about all your sports coverage. We're going to do high school, professional sports. We got playoffs. We got schedule releases in the NFL. We have NFL news. There have been a couple of teams that have already had the NFL schedule leaked. We know who the Thanksgiving games are going to be. We know who the overseas games are going to be over in Europe. We'll talk about that because the Panthers are in the news on that one as well. NFL schedule gets released by the NFL tonight at 8 o'clock, but there are some things that are slipping out there. A couple of teams getting their entire schedule leaked. Some primetime games getting leaked. We're going to talk about that in the second half of the show today. Get into the NFL. You know, it's right around the corner. I know you might think it's, hey, what do you mean? It's only May. No, it's right around the corner. It'll be here before you know it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule for the NFL season. Tomorrow, we will know the full details on the Carolina Panthers and where they will be heading, when they will be heading. We already know their opponents for the year. We just don't know the order that it's going to be in, which, you know, I don't think it's that big of a deal to know the order if you already know who you're going to be playing home and away. But the NFL likes to make a big deal out of everything, and, you know, it's their right to do so. They own the sports media landscape. So we're going to bow down to them and talk about the NFL later on today. Also, normally, throughout the NHL playoffs, we would have a Carolina Hurricanes game today. But there's an extra day of rest now. So the next Carolina Hurricanes game is not until tomorrow. That would be game number 6 out in Raleigh as the Hurricanes try yet again not to get eliminated. After going down 3 games to none, they've worked their way back to a 3-2 series, and that is what it is. It is a series now. You had the NBA playoffs going on last night. You also had the start of the WNBA season. How many people tuned in? Were you keeping your eyes on the WNBA season? I told you I would be, and I did check in on it and see what was going on. And, you know, I expected not much better from Caitlin Clark in her first WNBA game. 20 points, a few threes, lots of turnovers. It's a different game. I don't care if it's men's college to the NBA or women's college to the WNBA. It's a different game. The skill level is that much higher. You got to be on top of your game, and, you know, she'll figure it out. With the Indiana Fever losing, they got blown out 92-71 by the Connecticut Sun, but game 1 of the season, I don't know how much coverage the WNBA is going to get through the season. Now, the beginnings are going to be big because you have the first game for Caitlin Clark and her first home game coming up later in the week. And you know, right now, the WNBA news cycle is going to go with Caitlin Clark. So if she's in the news, the WNBA is going to be in the news. We'll see if they can keep the momentum through the entire season. But this is where we are right now. We're going to start in the world of high school sports. We have high school playoffs going on, lacrosse, baseball. We have women's soccer going on. I have an email here from the NCHSAA where they sent me, and I sent a lot of people, I'm sure, some information on men's golf as the champions have been crowned. The Mitchell Mountaineers and Connor Warren repeated in the 1A men's tournament. Seaforth High School just barely beat Pine Lake, my alma mater, on the second playoff hole to win the school's first men's golf championship. That is the 2A title. Terry Sanford goes back-to-back in the 3A title, and it's their 5th golf championship. And in 4A, it was Pinecrest claiming their 8th total golf title on Tuesday as they topped New Hanover by 14 strokes and set a new NCHSAA championship scoring record in the process. They posted a team score of 526. That's 5 shots better than the mark that was set by Terry Sanford earlier in the day, which was that 3A championship. But the Pinecrest Patriots, the 4A men's golf champions. Congratulations to all of those schools. I know we didn't talk golf all that much. Harder to cover and find the information you need about golf. It's high school golf is a lot different, and it's covered a lot differently than high school football and high school basketball and baseball and lacrosse and things that we've been talking about. But I have the information, so I wanted to at least make sure that all of those people there in the men's golf championships are shouted out. Congratulations for winning a state championship. We also had lacrosse regionals going on last night. 3 games, 2 of them in the 4A bracket, 1 of them in the 1, 2, and 3A bracket. The one in the 1, 2, 3A bracket was Lake Norman Charter, the 4 seed, taking on Bishop McGuinness, the 8 seed, and Lake Norman Charter advances to the state championship game. So a big congratulations to Lake Norman Charter. Their opponent is going to be Orange High School, the Orange Panthers out of Hillsborough, North Carolina, ranked number 15 in the state of North Carolina. And for Lake Norman Charter, they are ranked number 10. So a game against 2 very good teams there in that bracket. As far as the 4A goes, we'll start in the East, farther away from us. Number 1 seed Green Level taking on Cardinal Gibbons, the 2 seed, and the 1 seed Green Level High School. They won 16-9. In the West bracket, the regionals were between Marvin Ridge, the 4 seed, and Lake Norman High School down in Mooresville, the 2 seed this year. Lake Norman High School gets it done, 13-11. They advance to go play for a national championship. That game is going to be on Friday at 8 o'clock. We'll have all the information for you after that game, as we always do. So we'll talk about it on Monday. Now, there were some baseball games that got played yesterday. Not all of the ones that were supposed to, obviously, because of the weather. And there's supposed to be some games that are getting played today. But if you look outside and you're in the area, we're in Statesville here for this show. So if you look around the Statesville area, it's kind of wet outside. So we'll see. I'm not confident that all of these baseball games are going to get played. But on the other side of the commercial break, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the games that are scheduled for today and tomorrow. That way you're in the know, you know what's going on. And if they do get rained out, rescheduled, I'll let you know as I find that information. We'll probably talk about it tomorrow as well because we'll have all the updates then. So don't go anywhere. We're going to talk baseball, high school playoff baseball. We are moving right along in the 3rd round. We'll have that for you after the break, as well as the NFL news that's been dropping all day today. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Scoreboard. Phone number 844-STUDIO-4. We'll be back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. on 1059 100.7 WSIC.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Segment number 2 here on the Scoreboard. 844-788-3464 is the phone number if you have something you want to talk about. Got an opinion you'd like to share, we're here for you. The show is all about sharing your opinions. I'll tell you what's not an opinion, though. The baseball state championship playoffs are going on. That is fact. Now, it might not be fact that they continue today because there's some rain in the area. And baseball, you can't play baseball in the rain. Somebody's going to get hurt. But we have games on the schedule, so we'll see. Maybe we have a chance of getting some of these games in. There have already been a few games played, and we talked about some of those yesterday. We'll talk more about it today. In the 1A bracket for baseball, Christ the King High School, the 3 seed, playing number 6 Union Academy. Now, that game is supposed to be starting at 5 o'clock, so about 20 minutes ago. And the game is going to be played at Mountain Island Charter, in case you weren't aware of that. But I look at the weather map, and I see a lot of rain in that area. Not sure what's going on in that one right now, but Christ the King High School, they are playing Union Academy today if the weather holds off for them. Also, the 1A bracket, tomorrow you'll have the number 1 seed Mount Airy taking on Thomasville. Cherryville plays Drawn High School. I think I said that right. The Drawn Wildcats. And by the way, Uwharrie Charter beat Mountain Island Charter, Mountain Heritage, 15-5. That game was a couple of days ago, so they have been waiting for their opponent in the 4th round for a couple of days here. They might be waiting a little bit longer because of this rain. In the 2A bracket, Burns High School defeated Bandy's. That game was on Monday by a score of 8-1. Today, we have North Stanley playing Forbush at 7 o'clock. Moorhead High School playing Randleman at 7 o'clock. And we had one that was completed yesterday. So we're moving along in this 2A bracket as well. I don't know, North Stanley, Forbush, Moorhead, Randleman, maybe they get those games in today. I don't know what the rain in those areas are looking like. I just know this area, obviously. But hopefully we can get those in. Yesterday, the 2 seed, East Rutherford, defeated the 7 seed, West Stanley High School. So that series there, or that game, I should say, is completed from yesterday. They were able to get it in. East Rutherford, the 2 seed, moving on. In the 3A bracket, number 1, East Rowan moved on as they beat Central Davidson 9-0. Today at 7 o'clock, you have Lake Norman Charter High School, who is in a state championship in lacrosse later on this week, as we talked about earlier. Well, they are going to be playing Oak Grove High School tonight at 7 o'clock. Now, this game would actually give Lake Norman Charter the most baseball wins in a season in their history. So good luck to Lake Norman Charter in that game. Tomorrow you have North Davidson playing Ford, and last night the 2 seed, West Henderson, was defeated by, well, this is another one that I don't know who they are. The Mountaineers High School, we'll call it that, out of Waynesville, North Carolina. The Mountaineers. Tuscola High School. Tried my best. And in 4A, we already talked about the 1 seed TC Robertson. They beat Ragsdale, moving on to the 4th round. Yesterday, though, we were supposed to have games. They didn't happen. Now, today we have at 6:30 Alexander Central taking on Marvin Ridge. And tomorrow it'll be number 12 West Forsyth taking on, number 4 Reagan High School taking on number 12 West Forsyth. Now, these games scheduled for today and tomorrow. If they don't get them in today, I'm very confident that these games will get played tomorrow because there's not as much rain in the area scheduled for tomorrow. Well, you know, this area, you can have a pop-up storm at any time. Last night was crazy. I know that. If you had a storm pass through you. There was some last night, this morning. Man, a lot of rain today and yesterday. Anyway, that is the high school scene right now. We do have more women's soccer games coming up, but those are scheduled for tomorrow. So we're going to turn the page here and talk about the women's soccer tomorrow. I want to get into the NFL and the news that has been dropping today. Every so often, a new piece of information is getting leaked by the NFL. Here is what we know. The 3 games that will be on Thanksgiving in 2024 season. The Bears at the Lions, the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dolphins at the Packers. Those are your 3 Thanksgiving games for 2024. Also, we have 2 Christmas Day games on the schedule. The Chiefs versus the Steelers. They'll actually be at the Steelers. Chiefs at Steelers and Ravens at Texans. There's a little bit of conflicting information on that one, but it looks like that's Chiefs at Steelers, Ravens at Texans. The other piece of news that comes with this Christmas Day game is, hey, kind of like we talked about with, every other sport. You're not going to be able to put it on cable to watch this one. The Christmas Day games will be on Netflix. Yes, you heard me correctly. Christmas Day football on Netflix. So they've tried to get into the live streaming things. If you watch the roast of Tom Brady, that was a live event. But this is the first live sporting event that they're going to be doing. And it's going to be Christmas Day. Whew, man. It's on Netflix. I'll raise my hand. Raise your hand if you ever thought that, or if you never considered Netflix as a streaming possibility for the NFL. Me, I never thought that would happen. But here we are. Netflix on Christmas Day. So if you want to watch the Coke 600, you got to get Amazon. If you want to watch Thursday Night Football, you got to get Amazon as well. If you want to watch every single NFL playoff game, you also have to get Peacock because a couple of those are being streamed solely on Peacock. What else is there? Now you got to have Netflix to watch the NFL on Christmas. You got to have all these streaming services. You might as well go back to cable, honestly. This is insane. All of these streaming services. And if you want to watch the MLS season, you have to have Apple. So Christmas games were announced as Netflix games. Oh boy. The New York Giants had their entire schedule leaked, and there was an interesting tidbit on that schedule. Week number 10 for the New York Giants, they will be playing the Carolina Panthers. Where? Well, it's not going to be in New York. It's also not going to be here in Charlotte. Yeah, the NFL has decided to ship the New York Giants and the Carolina Panthers game to Germany. Now, I find this interesting because I would think that you want to send the best talent and the best games and the best teams to another country to showcase what we have for the sport. Not the Panthers, who were the worst NFL team last year, and the Giants, who have been a dumpster fire for the past 10. I'm not the schedule maker. I don't make the decisions, but I'm curious why specifically the Panthers and the Giants going to play in Germany. That's one of the pieces of news that leaked out today. Now, the schedule, like I said, the schedule is getting released in its entirety later on tonight around 8 o'clock. So you're going to have to wait to get the entire Panthers schedule. But there are team schedules that are getting leaked. I've seen the Steelers partial schedule out. Here's an interesting one. The New York Jets will have 7 standalone games in the first 11 weeks of the season. Week number 1, they're on Monday Night Football. Week 3, Thursday Night Football. Week 5, they're in London against the Vikings. So, that's a 9 o'clock start. They're going to be on their own standalone game. Week 6, Monday Night Football. Week 7, Sunday Night Football. Week 9, Thursday Night Football. And Week 11, Sunday Night Football. 2 Monday night games, 2 Thursday night games, 2 Sunday night games, and 1 international game for the New York Jets. Why? I guess they're banking on Aaron Rodgers not tearing his Achilles again, which, that's probably good odds on that, that he's not going to do that again. But I wouldn't bank on him being very good this year. He's up there in age, and he's coming off of a snapped Achilles. That's a tough ask. That is a very tough ask. But the NFL is going to push the Jets in our face and say, watch them. And they're sending the Panthers to Germany. We're heading to break. On the other side of the break, we'll wrap up the NFL and get into some other sports. You're listening to The Scoreboard. We're back after this.
More of sports director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100. 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to the Scoreboard. 844-788-3464 is the phone number if you want to chat. Talking about the NFL and the schedule releases that we're expecting tonight. 8 o'clock Eastern is when those are going to be released. The big news of the day, the Carolina Panthers will be playing week number 10 overseas in Munich, Germany against the New York Giants. They will not be here in Bank of America Stadium for that game. They'll be overseas. And I got to question, why are we sending those two teams to Germany? I want to showcase our greatness, not the bottom of the league. Carolina Panthers were the worst team in the NFL. We cannot forget that. This is rock bottom for the Panthers. I hope it's rock bottom, I should say. I hope this is rock bottom. Anyway, we're expecting all of these schedules to be released at 4 o'clock or at 8 o'clock tonight. If you're a social media person, make sure you check out the social media pages, as the Panthers are probably going to have some video that they do to release the schedule. All these teams now put out these extravagant videos for the release of their schedule, which, cool. I guess if you enjoy it, good for you. I don't get it. Just release the schedule, please. I don't need a whole video about it. I don't know. 844-STUDIO-4, 844-788-3464. Let me know what you think about the Carolina Panthers being sent to Germany. Not forever. No. They're not relocating. I know I made a joke April 1st about Panthers relocating to South Carolina. They're not going to Germany, I can promise you that. They're playing week 10 in Germany. 844-788-3464. Let me know what you think. I want to chat real quick before we get into playoffs for the NHL and the NBA. The NASCAR season. The NASCAR Cup Series heads to the All-Star race this coming weekend. And there's some more news, that's been dropping from NASCAR over the past few days. They've really gone all in on their headlines on the past 2 days, starting with the Coca-Cola 600 being the first race that is going to air on Amazon Prime Video, as it's called. But also earlier today, it was announced that the first race on TNT will be Atlanta Motor Speedway. Very interesting. Right now, okay, so I'm trying to get a landscape on how this NASCAR season is going to go next year, because we have 4 different broadcasts. We have the Fox broadcast, the Amazon broadcast, TNT, and NBC. Next year, the CW has all of the Xfinity, by the way. Xfinity solely on the CW. So we got the news that it'll start on Fox, then it'll go to Amazon, and then TNT has their 5 races before we go back to NBC. So logically, the first TNT race is race number 1 of the in-season NASCAR tournament, which we all love so very much. Thank you, NASCAR, for giving us this in-season tournament. Right now, Atlanta is race number 2 of the schedule. Daytona, Atlanta. We talked about the back-to-back draft tracks to start the season as very weird. The second Atlanta race currently for this season is the first race of the playoffs, the round of 16, which isn't until, well, quite some time from now. So Atlanta has had one of its races moved to the summer. If I had to guess, I would say it's race number 1. I don't think race number 1 next year is going to be Atlanta. And I'm not sure if the Auto Club repave and reconfiguration is going to be done next year or the year after. But I'm expecting it to go Daytona and then Las Vegas, Phoenix, or Phoenix, Las Vegas. Get the West Coast swing out of the way early. Maybe if Auto Club has their reconfig done by then, we'll go to Auto Club as well. I'm pretty sure they're making this like a short track. Go from a 2-mile track to a short track. Very interesting what they did with Auto Club. One of my favorite tracks, and they've ruined it. So with this, so here's what we know. Obviously, Daytona start. When we go to Amazon Prime Video, race number 1 will be the first seeding race for the in-season tournament. And there are 3 of those. There are 3 seeding races because Amazon Prime has 3 races. And then it is a 5-race tournament on TNT. That's their 5 races for an in-season tournament. Race number 1 for Amazon is the Coca-Cola 600. That'll be the first seeding race. Race number 1 for TNT, Atlanta, which will be the first elimination race. Now, we talked about the schedule this year, and if it was incorporated this year, where would these races be? The Chicago Street Race was in there, Pocono, Iowa, Worldwide Technology. Interesting tracks. I think we're going to get a schedule overhaul for next year. Man, what short track would they put into this? Because I don't know if they're going to move the spring Bristol race to the summer. I have a feeling that in order for NASCAR to view this as a success or for them to succeed, they think they need to put a lot of good races into this in-season tournament. So I'm expecting Kansas, which is a summer race usually, to be in the in-season tournament, as Kansas was the best race of the year. It had everything. It had good racing from start to finish. It had a stretch where we only had cautions. Nobody could figure it out. Closest finish of all time. Kansas was the best race of the year so far. So you got to put Kansas in the in-season tournament. I would put Bristol in there personally, especially if we go back there in the fall and we have the same tire situation. Maybe a little bit better so that they can run close to a full fuel run. Now, I don't know how close they are to doing all of this stuff, obviously. It would take a lot to overhaul the tire and make it last 20 extra laps than it did. But if we go there in the fall and Bristol races the same way, do we throw Bristol into the in-season tournament? You already have Atlanta, so you don't need to worry about Talladega or Daytona. What about a road course? I think they should put a road course in for the seeding, not for the elimination. Well, I'm trying to make this entertaining because personally, I don't like the idea. I think something like this should be kept in fantasy, where it's not like gambling, but like fantasy football, where you draft your team. This should be part of fantasy NASCAR, where you have a bracket, they give you a bracket, and you pick who advances. I just don't like the fact that this is going to affect the season. That's me personally. If you have a different opinion, 844-STUDIO-4. Let me know. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. The Cup season next year is going to be crazy. I'm still waiting for them to, instead of driving fan interaction by producing things and adding pointless things, maybe we can drive the fan engagement by fixing the race cars, making it so that, I don't know, when you're at a 1.5 mile track and the guy in second runs down the leader from a 1.5 seconds back, maybe make it so he can actually attempt to pass him and not get air blocked by the leader for the final 20 laps, because we see it all the time this year. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. One more segment. We'll talk about the NBA and NHL playoffs in that segment. And if you want to chat, 844-STUDIO-4. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, keeping our eyes out for a couple of scattered showers and bumpy thunderstorms as we work our way through the rest of our Wednesday evening. Overnight, a partly cloudy sky. Temperatures will dip down to around 60. Our Thursday, finally, our driest day of the week, but still.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the final segment today on the scoreboard. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. What do you want to talk about? Anything you guys want to chat about, call me up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of news for you guys, let you know what's going on around the world of the playoffs in the NBA and in the NHL, because we haven't really given you that much of an update in the NBA recently. I've been paying attention to the NBA as well. You know, you can only watch one thing at a time. I mean, you could put two things on two screens, but anyway, here's where we are in the NBA playoffs. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks are tied 2-2. The Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers are at a 3-1 series with Boston ahead in that one. Last night, the New York Knicks took Game 5 against the Indiana Pacers. That put the Knicks ahead 3-2. And the Denver Nuggets get the win at home They move their series to 3-2. Remember that one? We talked about it. Denver fell in an 0-2 hole to Minnesota on the road. They lost their first 2 home games of that series. Then they go to Minnesota. Timberwolves on home court. Well, they couldn't defend home court. The series gets tied. It goes back to Denver for game 5, and Denver took game 5. Now game 6 later on tonight around 8:30. Also tonight you have the Thunder and the Mavericks. The West is interesting. The East is the most interesting to me because you have the Celtics, who for the past few years, like, man, how do they not have a title with that team? Honestly, it feels like the Celtics, you think about them in the NBA and they're like, oh yeah, they got a title recently. No, not really. No, not really. And then you have the Pacers and the Knicks. Well, we know the Pacers, they haven't been in the story for a while. This is the first time they've been relevant in a few years. And you have the New York Knicks, who they haven't won anything since what, the 70s? So you have the underachieving 2020s Boston Celtics, the finally back New York Knicks. I don't even want to count Cleveland right now. I know that's who Boston's playing. Cleveland they're not Cleveland without LeBron, right? LeBron James. They're not Cleveland without our man LeBron. And they're going to lose. They're down 3-1 against the number 1 team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics. I don't find it possible. Now, I know it is possible. I just don't think it's very likely for the Cavaliers to come back in this series. In all likelihood, we're looking at an Eastern Conference Finals between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. Boston and New York going at it once again in the sport. We're not there yet. Game number 6 of the Knicks-Pacers series is tomorrow. Is going to be on Friday. There is an extra day of rest in there, so we won't know. Now, Boston could win tonight. Their game is at 7 o'clock. And they could end the series, and then we're just waiting for the Knicks and Pacers to wrap things up, see who Boston's going to be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. The West is a little bit more wide open, I feel like. You have some storylines there. The Oklahoma City Thunder, Chet Holmgren last year, he was out the entire year. He was their top draft pick. He's back. Now you have another top pick over there. You have the Mavericks. And man, if the story isn't about Luka Doncic over there, then who are we even talking about? Basically single-handedly bringing this team to where they are. I know they got Kyrie and they got other players over there, but Luka is the show. The Timberwolves and the Nuggets, the Nuggets, we know them. They won the championship not long ago. And the Timberwolves, a new team, a new contender. You have Anthony Edwards, who is absolutely balling recently. He's getting comparisons to Michael Jordan somehow. I don't know. The first year a guy breaks out, let's not compare him to Michael Jordan. Can we agree to do that? Please? As fans of a sport? It's like when Patrick Mahomes started playing. He's going to be the next Brady. And Brady is still playing. It's like, dude, he's still right here. How can he be the next Brady if the guy is still playing? You hear that all the time. He's the next Jordan. You know what you don't hear? You don't hear he's the next Wayne Gretzky, right? Is it possible that anybody's ever going to dominate a sport the way that Wayne Gretzky dominated the NHL? I don't think so. I don't think it'll ever happen again. Speaking of the NHL, we do have one game later on tonight. That would be game number 5 between the Colorado Avalanche and Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars, who are the second best team in the NHL this year, are up in that series 3-1. If you ask me, Dallas has the best team. When you look at depth, forward lines 1 through 4, bench players, your defensive pairs 1 through 3, I think they have the best roster. And they were taken to the brink in round 1 by the defending champion Golden Knights. And now they're 1 win away from knocking off the champs from 2 years ago, the Colorado Avalanche. Don't look now, but that Dallas Stars team, they are dangerous. And if somehow Carolina, is able to erase a 3-0 series lead and advance and maybe go to the Stanley Cup, they'll probably run into those Dallas Stars. I just have a feeling that Dallas is going to be the team to represent the West. The other series in the West, the Oilers and the Canucks, that series was tied last night as the Oilers scored in the final seconds of the game. And this is why I love hockey. You know, it's not like basketball. It's not like football. Like we were going to overtime, and then a wrist shot from the point is all it took. Just a shot from the point. It gets through the traffic, goes in the net. Oilers go up by 1. 39 seconds remaining in the game. We were all thinking overtime. I was ready for overtime. And Evan Bouchard puts it in the back of the net to tie the series at 2. And it's a harmless shot when you look at it. It's a wrist shot from just inside the point. He's not at the blue line. But just like that, snap of a fingers, blink of an eye, the game changes, and the entire outlook of that game and that series changes. And for your Carolina Hurricanes, well, game number 6 will be on Thursday out in Raleigh. Right now, the Hurricanes are the favorite. They're minus 170 compared to the Rangers plus 142. 7 o'clock is the expected start time on that one. It's game number 6 of the series. Carolina was down 3-0. They were the better team for a majority of the game in all 3 of those games. They win game number 4 when not being the better team. They dominate game number 5. And I mean, they dominated. Yes, they went into the third period down 1-0, but they were the better team. So now we'll see what happens. Are they going to be the better team again? I mean, you can only play a team so many times and have their number like that. Eventually, it's going to swing back the other way. But the good news for Carolina, they're going to be at home. And we talk about it, and we've talked about it throughout the entire playoffs. Carolina is much better at home than on the road. And that is why game number 7, being in New York, not Raleigh, is going to be so important this year, because I have a feeling that Saturday night we're going to be watching game number 7 between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. We got to get past game number 6 before we get to that one, though. All right. That is the scoreboard today, but as we do every day, we have to talk about what happened on this day in sports history. Here's one for you. 1876. It was the second ever Kentucky Derby. Bobby Swim was the jockey aboard Vagrant as he wins in 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Seems a little slow if you ask me. Ty Cobb was suspended from baseball on this day in 1912 after he rushed a heckler at a New York Highlander game. How about that? 1912. On this day in 1941, Joe DiMaggio began his 56-game hitting streak with an RBI in a 13-1 loss against the Chicago White Sox. That was game number 1 of the streak. Thanks everyone for tuning into the scoreboard today. I appreciate all of you for listening. I appreciate the calls, the interaction on social media, everything you guys do when we're live here on the scoreboard. Tomorrow we'll have more for you in terms of high school women's soccer matches that are going to be taking place. We'll recap what went on in baseball as well as preview the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers game number 6. It'll be hockey night in Raleighwood, which according to the towel I got is what we call it now. It's not Raleigh, it's Raleighwood. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. This is the scoreboard. Until then, have a good night, everyone.